All right, good morning. It's good to see everybody. I know it's remote still, but still glad to see everybody again. Hopefully everyone's doing well. I'd like to welcome everybody to the MAG Public Safety Answering Point Managers Group. MAG staff will now take a roll call to ensure we have a quorum present for the meeting. All meeting attendees will or should be muted if they're not talking. Phone only attendees will need to press *6 to unmute at the beginning of the meeting, and if they are subsequently muted by the host. Please remember to mute when you are not speaking to create a positive experience for all attendees. I'm going to turn it over to Liz to take roll.
Okay, thank you, Mike. So we'll start with AMR. Ian, are you on the line? Apache Junction, Craig Robinson. ASU, Trish Price. Avondale, Mike Folia.
Yep.
Thank you. Buckeye, Jim Tatora.
Good morning.
Morning, Jim. Chandler, Stephanie Heifleman.
Morning.
Fort McDowell, Sergeant Beebe. I'm sorry, Stephanie.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't know if you heard me. I said good morning. I am here.
Okay, good morning. You had a little digital or a little voice issue there. Okay, Fort McDowell, Sergeant Beebe. Gilbert PD, Kim Weber.
I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning. Glendale, Loretta Hadlock.
I'm here.
Thank you. Goodyear, Shauna Henry.
I am here.
Thank you. Luke Air Force Base, David Demers. Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, Jim Stillwell.
Present. Good morning, ma'am.
Morning, Jim. Mesa Fire Department, Chief Fry.
Good morning, Jim Fry's here.
Thank you. Mesa PD, Christine Pantoja Young.
Good morning.
See, I should know that better. Christine Pantoja Young. Mesa, Paradise Valley, Heather Beckwith.
Good morning.
Morning, Heather. Peoria PD, Brittany Brunet.
Good morning.
Morning, Brittany. Phoenix Fire, Nicole Diedrich.
Good morning, Liz. Nicole's here.
Hi, Nicole. Phoenix PD, Dan McNamee. Salt River Pima, Maricopa PD, Kim Clark.
Good morning.
Morning. Morning, Kim. Scottsdale PD, Karen Sutherland.
Good morning.
Morning, Karen. Surprise PD, Damla Fantasy. I saw Damla on there. Is she in the chat?
Yeah, she's there.
Okay, very good. Tempe PD, Patrick Cutts.
Good morning, this is Patrick.
Morning, Patrick. Tolleson PD, Adriana Cullen.
I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning, Adriana. Wickenburg, Lieutenant Sloan. Thank you. And then DPS, Lynn Kolobowski.
Good morning.
Morning, Lynn. Pima County Sheriff's Office, Bob Woodhall. He's on the line. We can see him. He might not have a voice. And then we have Jen from City of Maricopa PD.
Good morning.
Morning, Jen. Okay, Chairman Folia, we have a full quorum.
All right, a quorum is now present. The meeting of the MAG Public Safety Answering Point Managers Group is called to order. We would once again like to welcome some new members of our psap group. Chief Jim Fry will be the interim representative for the Mesa Fire Department since Doreen has retired last month. We'd also like to introduce and welcome Travis Jensen, the new State 911 Administrator. Travis, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the changes to the new staff members at the State 911 office?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Thankfully, I had the opportunity to work with a number of people on this call. So most of you know me, but for those that don't, my name's Travis Jensen. I'm the new 911 program manager with the state's Department of Administration. Been working in psaps for the past 13 years, most recently with Mesa PD, where I spent the last 5 years. Just some background into the state's operations and some of the changes that have been made. Currently have a team of 5 people, including myself. We have a GIS manager, an IT and project manager, financial manager, and a project coordinator. And there's definitely been a lot of transition with the state office recently. Most of the team is pretty new, and one of the biggest aspects of the transition was the program used to be under the Department of Grants and Revenue, and we just moved back to the Strategic Enterprise Technology Division. So with this transition, the old program used to consist of mostly people that were familiar with the grants world, but didn't necessarily have any experience with 911. And so when this transition occurred, the state decided they wanted somebody with 911 experience that'd be able to communicate to the psaps and have a greater understanding of their needs. And so that's why I'm here today. And then one of the things that we really want to achieve over here is just to be a resource to all of you. I know you guys have Liz and her team, and they're amazing, but we're here to help in any way that we can. So we'll hopefully be holding a meeting sometime here in the near future to give some insight a little further into what we do. But other than that, I look forward to getting to know everybody and working with all of you to ensure our continued success in the future.
Great, thank you very much, Travis. Appreciate that. Agenda item number 2 is call to the audience. Members of the public were asked to submit written comments related to this meeting through the MAG website. Comments may be sent at any time leading up to the meeting, but must be received at least 1 hour prior to the posted start time for the meeting. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda or that are on the agenda for discussion and not for action. MAG staff, have we received any public comments? If so, please read them at this time.
Chairman Folia, we have not received any requests for public comments.
Okay, thank you, Liz. Moving then on to agenda item number 3, the approval of the November 12th, 2020 psap manager group meeting minutes. Does any member of the psap managers group have questions or comments on those minutes? All right, I'm hearing no comments, and there's a message. Oh, we're good. Okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
This is Patrick Cutts. I'll motion to approve.
Karen Sutherland will second.
Thank you, Patrick and Karen, for the approval. Is there discussion of the motion? Oh. Okay, do we need to do a roll call, Liz, for this?
Yes, we'll do a roll call. So as I called, just vote yes, no, or abstain. So Apache Junction,
Yes.
ASU PD,
Yes.
Avondale PD,
Yes.
Buckeye PD,
Yes.
Chandler PD,
Yes.
Fort McDowell PD. No answer. Gilbert PD,
Yes.
Glendale PD,
Yes.
Goodyear PD,
Yes.
Luke Air Force Base,
Yes.
Maricopa County Sheriff's Office,
Yes.
Mesa PD,
Yes.
Paradise Valley PD,
Yes.
Peoria PD,
Yes.
Phoenix Police Department, Salt River Police Department,
Yes.
Scottsdale Police Department,
Yes.
Surprise PD.
She said yes.
All right, on the chat. Tempe PD,
Yes.
Tolleson PD,
Yes.
Wickenburg PD. It appears, Chairman Folia, that the minutes, accept of the minutes has passed.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item number 4, which is the administrative report. The 911 administrator will provide a report to the psap managers on activities and programs managed by Maricopa Region 911. Liz Graber, the 911 administrator, will provide this report.
Thank you, Chairman Folia. So it's a new year, so we have some statistics for fiscal year 2020. If we can advance the slide. There we go. So let's start with sends. Last year, we set a record for sends at 142 activations. I apologize on who the top psap was on that. I'll get those numbers and send it out to you along with your annual, if you've used it or not. I'm not sure if you include that in your annual reports to your staff, but I can get those for you. But 142, that's a highest mark we've had. Previous to that, it was 135. Questions on sends? Or I actually have one more thing. On the idea came up, the possibility of from MAG staff of using sends in situations where vaccination for COVID-19 area, once in a while they come across an incident where they have extra shots or shots that are going to be going bad. Vaccine, that they need to, that have very, very short shelf life. And so what they're hoping to do is when those instances happen, they try to get anyone told, they don't go by the eligibility of essential personnel over 65. It's to anyone they can give the shot to because they don't want them to go to waste. So they reached out to me on using sends because this is a localized notification in those instances. So it's not, don't forget to get your shot. It's not that kind of a notification. It's the Graber Medical Clinic at this location has 50 shots. Call this number to schedule it in the next 24 hours. Whatever that case may be, you'll have to talk to them about it. And I thought that we had good justification on these unusual circumstances to do this. So I reached out to the State Department of Health, told them we have this tool. If that's something they want to investigate, that's something that we can do. And we can do notifications that way. And so I'll let you know if that's something that they reach out to me. They said, yes, thank you, we'll let you know. So if it's something we move forward with, we'll talk about it. So that would put your psaps on notice of getting calls from medical locations that are in charge of giving vaccinations. And I don't see why we would do more than in a mile radius, depending on where it's at. What are your thoughts on that?
A mile is probably more than sufficient because I think if you go anything greater than 1, you're going to extend how long it's going to take for the calls to go out and
Yeah.
maybe reach anybody. And that's the chance that somebody would be able to respond at a prompt time.
Do you think a half mile, depending on the location? Now, if it's downtown Phoenix, yeah, you're not going to do a mile. But I think that's something we can judge as if we get to that. But I volunteered us to help them with that. And so we'll see if the state takes us up or not. Also, go ahead, Karen.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just thinking now, when we get notice that they have 50 shots or whatever available, will that be the psap in that jurisdiction that will put those out in that
Yes.
mile? Okay.
Yeah. They will.
Hey Liz, the other thing that maybe they can also inform us of, which we ran into a big issue out here at the stadium when that storm hit, DPS shut it down, never let anybody know. We could have turned our reader boards on and just told them, it's, delay, don't go into the stadium. So we had traffic backed up all the way onto Glendale Avenue, all the way out to the freeway. And that's because they were all waiting in line thinking that they could get in to get their shot.
Okay. Yeah.
So if they do things like that, they need to let us know.
All right. I'll let them know that that's a problem we run into.
This is Anna with DPS. I just made a note of that here in Phoenix.
Thank you, Anna.
And the last thing on sends is, as of today, we have 41, a little under 42,000 self registrations with cell phones. So 42,000 is bigger than my hometown, but it's still not as many people we'd like to have on that. All right, we'll move on to text to 911. Text to 911, we also set another record. In 2020, we had 7,061 text sessions for the year. This is a significant raise. The fourth quarter alone was 2,593, with a monthly average for the year of 588 text sessions. It's a 76 increase over 2019. And year to date in 2022, wouldn't that be nice if we were a year behind? 2021, that's my typo. We have had 669 for the month of January. And so what the problem we're having on text to 911 that I want to relay to the group, and this will probably be something we'll ask the emerging 911 working group to help come up with a recommendation, is, as you know, when Comtech upgraded their system, we lost the ability to have the tone for text alert that a text is coming in to come over the speaker. And now, as many of you painfully aware, it comes over the headset, it comes over the speaker sometimes, and sometimes not at all. It's so random. So my team has looked at everything that we can do, and we are not finding any options, and Comtech is not changing because we have a unique way of setting it up. If I was at Snowflake PD and was working it there, I would just have it on a separate computer. That's how it was designed, that I have my internet computer there and it's turned on. The reason we struggle is because it comes into our data centers and then we push it out. So that's why it's mingled in with the 911 system, and using that browser on the 911 PC is where our hands get a little tied of what we can and cannot do. And look, Ben wants to talk. Ben? No? Okay. So then looking at the demos for 911, the CPE that I just did a month or so ago, I specifically asked each of the vendors, can you take a 911 call and a text at the same time? And they said, no, they're not. It's considered an individual call. And so that's always given us heartache. So the question is, Comtech, who we can answer and multitask, but we have these sound issues, or start going to an integrated platform, but know that you can't be on a call and typing a text at the same time, but you do have the ability to have everybody logged into text. We're not limited by seats. So that would mean dispatchers for bigger agencies, supervisors already in. So what I'm going to ask the Emerging Technology Working Group to come and meet together and help us come up with a good recommendation on where we want to go with this, which is the lesser of two evils, if you will, on getting text to 911. That makes sense to everybody?
Yes.
So
And yeah, Karen.
regarding the all the vendors saying no, these are one thing at a time. It's no different than getting 2 phone calls at one time. And would that would stay open to that text however long that it took the person to respond? Or because right now we have some rules in place, like you wait 5 minutes before you disconnect and things like that. And after, you know, if the person stops responding to you. So would that call taker then be tied up for possibly 5 or 10 minutes until they hit the closing on that call?
Yep, they would. Until the CPE system knows that they're done with that session's closed, then they would be tied up. However, some of them, and I forget which ones, allow the option of putting the text on hold, as it were. So if I'm doing a text and I got, and 911's going nuts, I can put it on whatever that hold looks like and do 911, and either the texter's waiting or I can turn it over to somebody else to finish it off. So
You know, you
those
think
are the things.
You think
Go
about
ahead.
like where we're going to in the future with, and if there was a shooting at a bar or a school or something like that, where multiple people are texting, we could end up closing down our regular 911 lines.
You know, Karen, I did not think to ask, can you handle multiple text sessions? I'm sure you can. I mean, I'd be surprised, but maybe that's something that we can look at. But if you'd like, we can bring the emerging 911 group together and take a look at all our options, and we can come up with a decision so we know as MR 911 where to move forward with on what we're going to do.
Well, Liz,
So,
and Karen, did I understand your question correctly though? Is that if there's multiple text sessions started, it could take out our call taker's ability to then take any more phone calls, correct?
That's what concerns me. Yeah, if they won't allow a call to come to a call taker because they're in a text session with somebody, we could end up with if it was something big where a lot of people were texting, say in a nightclub shooting or something like that, would we be not getting our actual 911 phone calls because we're wrapped up in these text sessions?
you'd be queued up. So it's not interfering with your circuits. They would be in a queue because you don't have enough people available for the ACD sites. For the non-ACD sites, it would just continue to ring until you put the text session on hold.
I don't like this.
I know.
I mean, that
So
wouldn't take many to shut everyone down. I mean, it would take only a handful of texts.
Right.
So Chairman, go ahead.
Sorry, is it something that, do they physically have to answer the text message, or is it delivered in the ACD if it's an ACD environment? And can you have multiple text sessions going at the same time with one person, or is it limited to one text as it is to a call?
It serves it to a person, like if you're ACD, standalone, anyone can grab it. And I'll have to ask them, Patrick, I'll take that back to the vendors to confirm, can you do multiple sessions? I'd be really surprised if you could, because it's the same thing, handling multiple 911 calls. What makes sense to us does not make sense to them, in my opinion. And maybe there's psaps out there that would absolutely not allow you to multitask. But I think in the smaller agencies, especially when you are requesting someone to do the radio and the phones and this and that, that can cause problems.
Hey, Liz, this is Lynn.
Yeah.
So if those text calls come into a primary psap and you just started dumping them to DPS, will that free up the primary psaps 911, or will that text still hold open that line until we close out that call?
The transfer and the operator ending the session could do that. So that you're sharing the workload. Is that what you're talking about, Lynn?
I'm just wondering how many of those lines that'll take up. So I get it, we share the workload, but if that call stays open, does that mean that that 911 line is not available for the primary psap?
It's not coming through a 911 circuit, thankfully. SMS comes on its own platform. And unfortunately, we can do thousands of them at the same time. So I hope I'm gone before that ever happens.
This is Christine. I'm just curious, like in this discussion, I thought that people would be multitasking more with the text messages, but in reality, when we get a text, usually only one person is just working that text out before they go on to their next call. So are other agencies having more multitasking? I mean, because for us not getting the tone, we've missed a couple of texts by 10 minutes or more, which is pretty significant when it's a 911 text. And so that's, for me, the greater concern.
Christine, this is Karen, and we've also had at least one that slipped by us because we didn't get any kind of a tone. And I also remember
cut out, Karen.
Of text to 911 and us answering those at the same standard as answering a 911 phone call, which is a big problem if we don't even know that it's come in because there's nothing to alert us to that. I think that we're doing a little bit of both because sometimes there's 2, 3, 4 minutes between the time that we send something to the person that initially texted and them sending something back to us. You know, and sometimes we can wait several minutes for that to happen. So in that time, our call takers are picking up other phone calls and just keeping an eyeball on the text.
Okay, thank you.
So you can see where we're looking at two problematic things where we have to weigh it out. So,
Hey,
Mike, go ahead.
If I know that they're not getting the audible alert, but if there was some sort of heads up display in the PSAPs, would there be able to be a visual alert, a light up, or something to that effect?
We have it on all the screens, and when a new call, a text comes in, the box turns like yellow, if I remember the color right.
I understand that, but if we could put it on a heads up display, you know, because if there's only one person working it, I just don't know if the audible, it would be realistic with some of the other audio going on in the PSAP.
Well, and the problem is with the audio, it's so random of how it does. So it's not consistently putting it in the air or not consistently missing it. And sometimes it does hit the speaker. So that's what we're up against. But we can take that back. And so I challenge the emerging 911 working group to help us look into detail of what our options are and maybe come up with a couple of recommendations that we can bring back to the PSAP managers.
Yes, I already made a note of it.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, does anyone look at your numbers of how many texts you take, let's say a monthly or annually? Is anybody capturing that data? I capture it on behalf of your PSAPs, but I'm curious if anyone else for just their PSAPs do that.
Scottsdale's capturing it every month, including the amount of time that it's taking us to respond.
Mesa also captures it.
Okay, good. Just so you know, Karen, there is no NINA standard. When the FCC FCC committee came up with being able to do text to 911, they knew that SMS messaging would be delayed and could not be compared to how we answer 911 because of the technology and the platform. So they were happy with the fact that they could communicate, and they did not put any parameters on. They have to be answered and handled in so many seconds. So that's a good thing for now. When it goes to RTT, that real-time text, that might be a whole different ballgame, but there is no NINA standard.
But
We
in
obviously
the
want to,
working groups, it's in a conversation though.
yeah.
Because I
Yeah,
know
we
I was
want to
in-
answer them.
Right, we like Mesa, we do look at our answer time and we set our own private goals on our staff.
Okay.
Which are more like a minute or a minute and a half, you know, to get them started. So it's nothing near what we're hoping for with the 911 standard.
Okay, and the other thing, the other report I look at every month is how many, I'm trying to think of the name of the report. It's called, I'd have to look at it, but what it does is look at text sessions that took a long time or weren't answered at all, and that were problematic. And a couple of times I can tell just by doing the math on the system. ECATS does not give a good capture of this, but sometimes it's because you don't have anyone logged in, and sometimes it's because you're busy and there's a delay time. So I believe it sends an alarm, and I'll have to ask Contact how long before it indicates there's a problem with this text session, because it was answered 5 minutes after it was sent, like the first acknowledgement. So I'll let you know what I can find out. But those are the two things I always look at, is the monthly reports and anytime you missed a call. If any of you want that information, I can email it out to you on your annual accounts, and you can see where you're at. Anything else on, go ahead.
I said that I think that would be good because it's hard to, I mean, ECATS really doesn't tell you a lot of anything.
No, it does not, especially on text. So, okay, on to the 911 MIS. You can see the totals there. We took a decrease of 1% from the year before, from 2019. When COVID hit, especially during the months of March, April, May, Mike and I would look at the numbers and see how they absolutely dropped in call volumes. And when the protests started up, then they went above. But overall, we only dropped 1%. I truly thought it would be more. Out of the 25 psaps, or actually 24, exactly half dropped and half went up. So we are off about 38,000 phone calls. And so that's something that we turn into the state as part of our grant process. But that is our snapshot of the annual MIS. And then lastly, rapid deploy data analytics. The state has purchased this system to help us do data analytics. Kim Clark and Kim is the chair of the Public Outreach Education Working Group, and we are coordinating with Rapid Deploy's training folks on getting training done for the psap manager. So this is not everybody in your psap has to be trained on it. Psap managers or supervisors or a mixture, it doesn't matter. But they'll have training. We've set aside training, and training is about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, depending on your questions. And we have 3 days, 2 classes each day for you to sign up for. So February 23rd, 24th, and 25th, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And 8 o'clock in the morning is the first one, and 1 at 1300 hours is the second one. And so you will be receiving an email from Rapid Deploy on scheduling it. And so if you could go ahead and schedule it out so that they know who's going to be where. And the other thing is you can go to multiple ones. So if I went to the one on Monday morning and I wanted to go over it one more time, I could sign up. I could go to all of them. And so it's not a one and done. There's no limit to how many people can be on the online training, and they're going to record it. So then you can have it archived so you can show it to your supervisors or keep it, for your training material. And so you're going to be looking to register, and then the Monday before this happens, they're going to send you a link. The psap managers only will get a link, and that will have the ability for you to register with a username and your password for Rapid Deploy. So this is you setting up your account. The account is already collecting information. So when you set that up on Monday, you see live information already. So there are a couple of psaps that we are struggling with. I can't think off the top of my head which one. I know for sure AMR is struggling, and there's a couple others that Mike and Rapid Deploy are working out the kinks with. So those are the important things. Look for that link and sign up and register for the training, or you can have if you have a lead supervisor you want to do it, that's welcome, but somebody from your agency needs to take that training. Any questions on Rapid Deploy?
Do you know when that link is going to be sent out for people to register for the class? Is that the Monday?
I believe they're going to send it out this afternoon. I told them to let me chat with you before they sent that out.
Thank you.
But I also asked them to hold off on sending the link to get it to start your account until right before. Okay, and so it'll be interesting. Just a couple of insights for me. There's only 20 reports, so I don't know what that looks like. So I'll be anxious to see what those 20 reports are. I'm leaning that it's more data analytic, which I love. It will be nice. I could get the ring times for us as a region and all sorts of things as a region point. That would be something wonderful. But I'm not sure if it will replace your MIS and have that kind of detail, but we'll see. So I'll be excited to see the changes. Any questions on anything I've covered? Very good. Okay, Chairman Foley, I turn it back over to you.
Does MIS then go away when Rapid Deploy takes place, or is that just going to be supplement too?
In my mind, it's a supplement. Now, we could get in there and find out, wow, this meets all our needs, and then we have the option to switch. But I don't, if there's only 20 reports and I want to scroll down to the timestamps of all the little anomalies from a 911 call, I'd like to see it. So I'm not sure, but we'll take a look at it and see. But it could be something in the future that this turns into, or it can just be another tool in our data collection.
Okay. Any other questions for Liz and her team? All right. Number 5, agenda item number 5, the budget working group. The next item on the agenda is the budget working group. This is an ongoing discussion on 911 funding for the region. This report will be given by the budget working group member, Patrick Cutts. Patrick?
This is Patrick. I understand from Liz that the grant process is not going to open until March for this next fiscal year. Right now, I do not have any information as to what's been approved so far. So we're still waiting on that.
So, Patrick, what will happen? It closes on March 5th, so it's open right now. And so I'm been working like a mad woman to get everything put into the grant. One of the things that So that's why one of the reasons I have to have MIS and different components that they require. And so it's building that together. So the MAG budget that we approved back in December, I'll break that down and put it into the grant process. So that's the budget we'll be looking at. I am going to request additional personnel that we need, especially as we get into core functionality of NG911, make that transition along with the rest of the state, and other elements that we need assistance in, because it's because of the responsibility level changing and the different things, we need that kind of resources so we can keep your everyday 911 things going along, as well as our NG911 EZNet platform. And anything else on the grant process?
Thank you, Liz.
Thanks, Patrick.
All right, Patrick, are you completed with yours?
Yes, that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the report, Patrick. Are there any questions from the membership at all? All right, this item is on the agenda for information discussion only. Moving on to number 6, the governance working group. This is an ongoing discussion on governance needed on a regional level. Christine Panta-Young will provide this report.
Thank you. The governance committee is laser focused right now on looking at the number of positions needed per psap and trying to discover what formula to use. We look for national models, and this is something that the entire country struggles with, learning how to determine what that formula would be. So right now we are meticulously going through and testing out different numerical formulas based on the number of volume of the calls that are coming into each psap. And this is complicated by the way smaller psaps use their systems and multitask versus some of the bigger psaps that have call only positions. So we're still making progress on that and looking to see how these formulas would affect each center to find something where it would be one formula we could use each year. So that's where we are. We're looking at an Erlang formula that Phoenix is using, and Scottsdale also offered one that they use, which doesn't look at the number of personnel that's needed, but the number of consoles needed to process your calls. That completes my report.
Thank you, Christine. Are there any questions from the membership? Okay, this item is on the agenda for information and discussion only. Moving on to the next agenda item, the Emerging 911 Working Group. This is an ongoing discussion in emerging technology, best practices, innovative process in 911, and its impact to the region. And I will be giving this report. We haven't met in a little bit of time here. There's 3 things currently going on that I'll brief everybody on. We've been working with Dave Eaton as far as testing the regional map, the new upgrades. And I know we got the upgrade. I'm not sure if everyone else has yet, but he's still working with What 3 Words to see if we can get our system to integrate with What 3 Words to allow us to use that functionality as well. And so we're obviously going to be guinea pigs in that regard. We got the text to 911 thing that was just put on the agenda by Liz for us to look into and consider. So we'll probably be looking to schedule a meeting here in the next month or so. And then last meeting, I think Loretta presented on Live 911. We did bring in, what's her name now? Carla from the agency in California that first started or first utilized that technology. And I know she presented last week, so we probably will do some follow-up pertaining to that. But other than that, that's the conclusion of my report. Is there any questions?
This is Jim Stowe. I have a question, comment.
Go ahead, Jim.
I've been in discussion with some other psaps recently, and We believe that it would work well for your working group to see the feasibility and potential study of remote call taking positions with the ongoing pandemic, as well as agencies' ongoing staffing shortages and issues we're facing. The discussion led towards the possibility and potential of psaps having the ability to have portable or movable telephone answering equipment. And so I would ask that your group begin looking into that and see what you can find for us.
Appreciate that, Jim. I'll definitely add it to the agenda. I don't know if Liz or Mike Benjamin, are there any immediate thoughts or feedback on that you'd like to provide?
No, we visited with Jim and a few others about different contingency plans for sharing the workload or working off-site. So I was glad that Jim brought this up and we can discuss. I think that this is another where we can look into it and see what our goal is, what is it that we're trying to do, and how can we best meet that. We have all these options, so we want to see which one's the one that will work best for the psap. So yeah, we'll be happy to work with the emerging 911 group to see what is available to us.
All right, any other questions?
Yep, unfortunately, I'm sorry. I'm very talkative today. This is Karen again.
Hey, Karen.
I wanted to clarify on your what 3 words, and would that be incorporated for phones or text, or what are, I wasn't sure I got how it's going to be incorporated.
I haven't seen it play out yet. I know Dave Eaton, and I don't know if he's on the line. He has been working with Isabella and ironing out some details. Dave, are you on the line?
Yeah, so the basic premise for how what 3 words could work in the region is, you know, if you're dealing with a text to 911 situation and they are unable to relay their information, you can send them a short code URL that will provide them their what 3 words location. They would in turn say, you know, I'm at, you know, waterfall river chair, and you could type that into your map application and zoom to that location. So that would be the process for how the what 3 words would integrate between the text to 911 and the map side of things.
And so if I remember correctly though, Dave, the key piece there was that it would be integrated into the map system so that we didn't have to plug in those 3 words on a website. So it'd just
Correct.
be for us to plug it directly into the map. So it's one less thing we'd have to have open.
Right, so you could just copy the text that they send in over to the map, paste that into the map and zoom to the location, correct?
So copy from, say, the ComTech, or when we get real-time text?
Either or.
Whatever the
well,
text.
actually, I'm sorry, that's not true. So we could actually copy it from ComTech because it's web-based. If we have an integrated text 911 solution with the phone system, I don't know that same copy paste functionality would be there. You would likely have to type it in from your 911 console over to the map.
Okay. Okay, I think I understand.
Okay, any other questions from the membership? All right, this item is on the agenda for information and discussion only. Moving on to the next agenda item, that is the Maricopa Region 901 technical update. Mike Benjamin and his team will provide this update or this report.
All right, thank you, Mike. A quick update on our staffing, our field guys. You're familiar with the guys we've got out in the field: Dominic, Nick Utkin, John. Mid 2020, we hired 2 new guys. Mark Simpson is still with us. Our other hire from the middle of 2020 resigned at the end of the year. So we've got Dominic, Nick, John, and Mark Simpson. Therefore, we've got a vacant field level position. And we're also short right now. We've got vacant senior level technical spot that we're looking to hire as well. I'm going to bounce it over to Nate. Nate's going to give an update on things we've got going active right now with projects.
Good morning, everyone. I'll start off with Goodyear's project. They went live February 3rd. We started February 3rd at 8 o'clock, and by 9 o'clock, we cut over to Viper System B, and there are satellite site off of it, with 4 positions and all trunks cut over by 9 o'clock. We struggle in the beginning with the agency access list, which postponed the admin training, but we later was able to do the house cleaning and redo the data entry to fix the agency access list so that they can train, which the training took place yesterday. The cut itself went fairly well. I'll let Shauna comment on how it affected her operation with the agency access list struggles that we came across. As of today, we're still continuing to fine tune the system to meet their needs. There's no major trouble that stood out after the go live, but we are monitoring a few minor troubles today. Next, we have in line is MCSO. They've completed CCS training the same week that Goodyear went live. Lots of work have been done for Viper 7's configuration since the CCS training. We were able to migrate to workstation so that their supervisor can start the data entry for the psap management portion of Viper 7. The go live is tentatively set for March 24th. Moving on, Glendale and Phoenix Fire will be Motorola Vesta. The hardware is currently being staged for shipping. Liz will soon send out invites to begin the kickoff meeting for those psaps. Once the hardware arrives to our warehouse, I will reach out to Glendale and Phoenix Fire to coordinate the delivery. Next would be Salt River backup. The majority of the backroom hardware is installed, and we're just waiting for to finalize the circuit delivery along with the hardware that would accommodate the circuit. Once that is done, then you'll see MR 911 completing the work to try to bring on the backup to Viper System 1. Gilbert, they're funding 3 positions. Entrado is due to arrive March 1st and 2nd to do the installation. I'll try to meet with Entrado after the installation to make sure that they have done the work per our standard. And finally, we have Apache Junction with the expansion remodeling. There was some work done on the UPS this week to be ready. The furniture will be arriving next week. So we're expecting, they're expecting us to move the workstation back into the renovate area once the furniture is up. So that's pretty much all I got for projects. If you have any questions, I'll take them now.
Shauna, did you have
thank you, Nate.
Sure, I can talk a little bit about what happened here. We had an issue where that was actually pretty difficult to overcome. We were supposed to have our administrative training, all the supervisors and everybody that would be overseeing the cutover and then working the system had to be canceled because the Viper technical staff uploaded incorrect data into our new system. They used an old file from our phone systems apparently. So when we went to do the training, all of our system information was scrambled and in the wrong place. So Nate and his team and the Intrado folks spent the next 24 hours rebuilding it all, trying to get it back online. And when we went live, it was functional, but we had problems like all of our quick transfer lines went to Apache Junction and a few other things that we had to fix. Nate has pretty much been working 24/7 since we cut over trying to get everything fixed and all of the things done. So we went live without any of our administrative staff knowing how to use the system correctly and having the data incorrectly populating when we were trying to take care of it.
Shauna, can I make a comment on the quick transfer to the Apache Junction? The quick transfer was done on the Genovation keypad. So as far as doing it from the GUI, the feature and the function was there. It was just the Geno that was programmed because at the time that we imported the agency access list, we didn't know how the layout would be in terms of where the buttons will be on the Power 911 to configure it on the Geno. So as a default, since Apache Junction was first on the list, we just went across and applied those keys to Apache Junction until we got the data squared away in the database so that we know how to map the agency to the button. So it was just a Geno.
Yeah, we could transfer off the phone itself. It was just the Geno pad. We also had a couple issues, and I talked with Domla in Surprise. They had a similar thing where due to something in the tone of voice of one of our call takers, the TDD would randomly turn on, and they were able to reset that time frame so that it wouldn't do that in the middle of a 911 call. And just across the board, some other small issues that volumes that weren't set correctly or whatever that I think honestly we could have forestalled a lot of that issue had we been able to go through that administrative training and setup previous to the go live. So that was basically my input. Overall, I was not super impressed with the vendor. They didn't live up to what I had hoped would be the quality of service that should be provided in a 911 psap. And they spent the day helping us get stuff done when they were on site. But once they left, it was pretty much left to Nate and his team to clean everything up. And I think a lot of that could have been their responsibility to step up and fix what was actually their error. They're the ones that created most of that problem. So I would like to see them maybe provide a little better service in the next cutover.
Shauna, I echo those same thoughts, and Benj and I are scheduling to meet with the upper brass of Intrado to talk to them about this and other issues, because that's, we're paying for training and installation, and yet they're doing work that should have been done and should have been easily done. It's just a maneuver. So it's caused me great concern along with other things. So we will, we've got my promise, we will share that with them.
Thank you, Shauna and Liz. Benj?
Okay, yeah, we'll come back to some vendor fun here in a minute. Here right now, I'll pivot over to Dave Eaton, who's going to give us some updates with RMAP, GIS, and location technologies in general.
Okay, do we have any slides available for the map part? Okay, so we are starting to migrate to it's the JavaScript is the platform that they're moving to. Since 2012, we've been using Flash Player as the platform for RMAP. And as most of you know, Google and most other platforms have blocked Flash Player from working. Fortunately, on our closed network, that didn't directly affect us. However, the programming language going forward doesn't allow development in Flash. And so anything that we want to do new had to be migrated. So that's the crux for why we needed to migrate to this new platform. This is the general overview of the map, and we're keyed in on the supplemental tab in this particular slide. Rapid SOS is providing the default device language for Android devices. So I'm not sure that that information is really useful. However, we are receiving it, so it's being displayed there in the device language field. So that's one change from the previous map. Another change that the previous map did not do. So the Flash player map would only display calls, new calls as they come in. As of now, the JavaScript map we keep track of live calls for all your centers. So if you are logging into a shift, as soon as you log into the map, any live calls will display on the map. Or if you need to close down and reopen the map, it'll display any live calls on the map. So as you can see across the top, the Zoom functionality and whatnot is very similar to the previous map. Checkboxes for beats or ESNs are all very similar. The only thing that's a little bit different, there's a little microscope glass that is your search tool right underneath the zoom in tool. So that's primarily the difference. Do we have another slide to show here? So this is showing medic alert info that's integrated to everybody's JavaScript map going forward. We had it to some degree with the Flash map, but it seemed to be coming more often than we had it before. So medic alert data can come from any type of device. So this is the medic alert type bracelets where people have some sort of medic bracelet that has engravings on it. So this information is tied to a phone number. So it may not necessarily be the exact person that's calling since it's tied to a phone number. But if that phone number is associated with a medic alert account, then this information will display, will give the name, age, allergies. You can see the different fields for engraving line 1, engraving line 2, engraving line 3, that tells what the particular medical issue that caller potentially has. So that's one of the one of the additional items that we have. And if we can go to the next slide. Rapid SOS has also partnered with the Cove Alarm Company. And this is, I think it's primarily home monitoring devices. This is information that your dispatchers will get from the Cove Alarm Company as they're talking to it, but it will pop up immediately when the call comes in from the Cove Alarm Company. So your users will be able to see this information. So in this case, it shows exactly what zone this was tripped from a kitchen window. I've grayed out the specifics on it, but it shows address, the account holder information, and their callback information. So both the Cove and the medic alarm data will only present itself on the call taker that's taking that particular call. It doesn't display on everybody else's position within the psap. I think Mesa PD had a good medic alert call over the weekend that they said everything was looking good. And I saw this morning, I don't know where we're at with deployment at Glendale, but Glendale actually did have a Cove alarm call this morning. So that information is getting pushed out to you guys as we roll out this JavaScript map. One other item that we're going to be pushing out, we need to work with, I think, the governance group a little bit on how this is going to work going forward. But we've had either our group or Chandler as our NOC send out the broadcast messages. The way that this is developed, we're going to allow that broadcast functionality to be pushed out from any of the psaps. And we'll set that up to allow your supervisors to launch a broadcast message. But we need to work, I think, with the governance group on, why do we need to broadcast and set up some framework as to how that's going to be used going forward. But that will be something that everybody will have access to. Beyond that, that's kind of the quick overview of the JavaScript map going forward that everybody's going to be getting. If you don't already have it, do you guys have any questions?
Dave, it's Liz, I do. On the Cove alarm, so did Cove is making the call, or is the person that lives at this location making the call to 911 or calling the agency?
So that's the Cove Alarm Center that's making the call. So the alarm gets tripped. The Cove Alarm Agency, they're verifying that it's not some sort of false alarm before they then relay it to the 911 center.
So as part of their agreement with Rapid SOS, they do some sort of interface with them so that they are displaying the right one, because everything else is tied to a phone number except for alarms. And those are some sort of data transfer to trigger a Rapid SOS to send that specific one on behalf of Cove's call to us. That makes sense?
So Dave, you said that Glendale received a call this morning. Is that would we only see that information if we had the Java?
Yes.
And we do not, right?
I believe we've pushed the JavaScript map out, and I don't know if Corey's on the call, or Corey's been kind of managing our technicians and getting it pushed out. So I'm not really sure what our status is across the board as to who has it pushed out yet.
All right. Well, that's why I was just checking on to see if I wanted to take a look, but I don't see our screens looking any different. I don't see any of the additional information, so I don't think we do.
The map is intentionally designed to look very similar to the previous map, and behind the scenes, it's all the same base map information. So there's not a whole lot of difference, but I took a screenshot of that particular call this morning. I can email that over to you if you want to take a look at it and share it with your people.
Yeah, if you could, I'd greatly appreciate that, because I just sent the information out to them for Cove from Rapid SOS. But I mean, if we're going to be starting to get that information in on a Java map when that's upgraded for us, then yeah.
I also have a question. This is Karen again. So these calls are they coming to 911? Because most alarm companies are not contacting us through 911.
It actually does come on a 911 trunk. I just reviewed that information before we got on the call here. So they don't use a admin line. They're actually coming through on your 911 trunks.
So do they have our 10-digit numbers, or how are they reaching the right agency?
That I don't know the details of. I assume they're doing some sort of they have some sort of lookup on their map on the Cove Alarm Company side to distribute the call. I don't know how they're managing that.
Hey Dave, this is Kim Weber. I didn't think this was a big problem, but I did reach out to Rapid SOS to address an issue because we had a Cove Alarm Company call us on our 911 trunk to report a regular alarm. And when questioned how they got our number, they said it was given to them by Rapid SOS. So somewhere at Rapid SOS probably has our 10-digit 911 number. And they were going to address that particular issue for me, but that might explain this.
I believe they're using the same technology that OnStar has begun doing, where they're delivering the calls directly to the 911 truck.
So this means that those 10-digit 911 numbers are out there now. Okay. I have a different question too, because we just also received something from Rapid SOS this week that was related to the telematics that are going to start coming for car accidents that would show the speed of the vehicles and whatever other information, probably airbags and the impact, etc. Now, the Rapid SOS information only sits on our screen for a half hour. I'm wondering if MR911 could maybe install something like fast stone capture or something where the agency can make a picture of that info, because if you have a fatal accident, that information is going to be crucial for your accident reconstruction team. How can we keep that, I guess?
Who's capturing the information initially, Karen?
It's coming from the, I guess the car companies. Like, I think Sirius is the first one to go on, and that's happening, I think, next month. And so if they have a car crash and they can't reach the people that are in the car, or who knows, maybe even if they can, they're going to be shipping this accident information to the psaps. We just got an email on it, and it kind of described that there was going to be all this different vehicle telematics that will be coming through Rapid SOS. And I'm thinking that our accident reconstruction teams that's going to be crucial information.
Well, I believe that they already get that from telematics. They have been doing that for a while, that through a process, whether, I don't know if it requires a subpoena or just a letter saying, please release this information. They do that already, and it's coming right from the vendor. My only thing that I would be nervous about as a PSAP is that you are providing evidence that is from a screenshot, you know what I'm saying? So not that it's for immediately, hey, this is what we need, but if it's for part of an investigation, that their best bet is, and which they do already, go directly to the telematic company and ask for the data.
Right, because Rapid SOS doesn't store anything, right? They store no information.
No, so they would go to OnStar or, all of them. And they've been having this information for so long that they already do that. The traffic investigators have been doing that for a while.
So Karen, what we've done before on different things, just on the screen, we've done like a screenshot for some other stuff, but would they do a screenshot, and maybe that's where it's up to the investigator where he contacts them, he or she?
Yeah, that's probably what we'll be doing here too, Loretta. Well, if it looks like there's information that might be needed by people that are at the scene, we'll probably have to try to grab it somehow.
Yeah.
This is Mike Benjamin. When Rapid SOS came onto the scene, we had conversations similar to this with just the information that they started out with initially. There were a couple, I guess I'd say fairly short-lived, whether we call it a conference or meetings, discussions, if you will, about this. I spoke with, I believe, actually some folks with Scottsdale, Phoenix Fire. We believe we have the capability to ship that information over to, say, whether it be a CAD system receiver or some other receiving system at the PSAP side. Many of the PSAPs have existing firewalls, not every PSAP yet, but our goal, knowing that we'll have more than just the legacy alley information that we give to your CAD system today via a serial port. I mean, and I'm not trying to joke about it, but I mean, literally like 1985 technology, we are trying to position so that we'd be able to send you this more rich information, whether it involved pictures or additional data elements or other items that may be coming through 911. In order to do that, though, we need more than just us to be able to send it we also have to have a group on the other side that is capable of receiving it and then deciding, okay, they've taken custody and what they're going to do with that. So always willing to open up if there's any groups. I believe Chandler was ingesting some of this into what they call their Splunk system, but that sort of, again, fell off the radar or never got its own legs. We'd be willing to discuss with any groups that may have, again, this isn't meant to be a joke either, but if you've got any of the technical staff with the time to say, yeah, this is a high enough priority that day, we'll take the receiver. As a matter of fact, Dave Eaton already has a mini receiver built that doesn't take really any processing, that we can dump text type information just so that the folks that would be receiving it, whether it be your database people or your CAD people, that they would be able to see that information. It's received over an IP path, so it goes through the firewall, and they could just start taking a look at the type of text data that Dave would be able to direct towards them, to, if nothing else, to kind of prime their ideas about how they would take their next steps. There is some MENA standard bodies that are working on these electronic information data exchange type documents. That's still more in the emerging part on how that data exchange will occur and so forth. So we do run the risk that if you start getting some stuff from us right now and start ingesting it into either CAD or some other database or MIS, that work might change when that MENA standard more fully evolves. But we're in this predicament where RapidSOS kind of changed the landscape. They started giving data that is useful and could, save lives and property and so forth out in front of, before the standards were there and, adopted in PSAPs to ingest all of that. So please contact me or Dave or both of us if you have, the desire to take a look at this deeper with us.
Mm.
All right, anything else, Mike?
Jim still
Dave,
something for Dave.
Go ahead, Jim.
Go ahead, Jim. You're muted.
So first, I would just, as somebody who's been moved over to the Java map, there are some slight differences from the Flash version that create some minor headaches for my staff, just some of the slight differences in the way some things work. But my question for Dave would be, when the transition was being planned, is there a reason why Java was chosen over, say, like HTML5?
Yeah, this actually is HTML5 by definition. It's not Java. Actual Java programming language is used on the server side and has been since we started. But this is a HTML5 application. And certainly this goes for anybody at any time. If you are having, like you're saying, Jim, headaches or things aren't performing like you expect them to or want them to, certainly reach out to me directly or send a ticket to 911 support and let me know what the issue is. And if I can fix it, I will do my best to do that.
Yeah, and what that we've noticed so far is it's not operation critical issues. It's just certain variations where something used to be a single click that's now maybe 2 clicks, or you need to be a lot more precise in the in where you're clicking to get the information, as opposed to in the Flash version you could be a little bit off from the exact location you needed and it still give you the data. So just again, minor variances that have been frustrating, but we're working through them.
I certainly don't want to cause any more frustration. So if you can identify specific issues, if it's frustrating your users, potentially it's, frustrating, other PSAPs that just aren't speaking up about it. So I certainly encourage anybody, even if it's minor annoyances, I want this map to work as smoothly as it possibly can. So if you guys have any concerns whatsoever, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you, sir.
This is Mike Benjamin with a question. If I can reach out, Karen from Scottsdale, do you know, do you have any feedback on the resolution change that we did for the map monitor? That may be something that they do like that.
Yep, they do. They like it. It seems more normal for them, and they're working well with it.
So to give a high-level synopsis, the new map, as Jim kind of alluded to, and as Karen's group has experienced, it has some finer points that may be better projected on the screen and easier to navigate as far as the mouse precision if we adjust the resolution on the screen for the map. A lot of versions of Power 911 that are out there, they have to be on a fixed screen resolution, and it's an old one because it's the way that the buttons would line up and so forth. GUI 3, if you're using GUI 3, if you have a newer version of Power 911, that has a lot more capability, but a lot of our PSAPs have a fixed format that we have to stay with as far as the resolution for Power 911. If you have a PSAP that is having these struggles, so Jim, if I could ask you to maybe have Gerald or anyone, one of your designees or yourself or whatever, talk with Karen or one of her experts on the user interface, and we can work towards migrating any of the sites where we are able to do that safely without affecting the having impact to Power 911 performance. But our technicians can do that. It's a little bit of a I don't want to call it a pain. It's just takes some time with the technician sitting there because they have to do that screen sharing still with the text to 911. And not every site has the same model or form factor and monitor. Some of the monitors now have the 16:9 aspect ratio and different sizes. So each PSAP is kind of an individual case basis, but we would like to offer that up if that will help out, and it may actually create some other less eye strain type things on folks, since the new map is using modern tools. We don't want to be hemmed in on some of the old resolution issues and stuff. So I know I said a lot of techie babble there, but the long and the short of it, those of you that are interested in seeing the possibility, let us know through 911 support, and we can try to roll with that to help you guys with making sure that the map, that you get everything out of it that you can. Any other questions for Dave Eaton? Okay, so my closing topic here is, unfortunately I saved the worst for last. Our group, and especially any PSAP here in the Viper 5.1 and most specifically in Viper 7, have had a hell of a last couple quarters, at least. I think Chandler would probably say the last probably over a year, have had some significant struggles with Viper 7. It has delivered 911 calls. It's not performing to the level that we can just throw it out and say that it's not working, but it's been a draining experience for PSAP staff and our tech staff trying to stay on top of all the various patches and fixes that the manufacturer is having to bring in. I know Gilbert's suffered. They're not on Viper 7, but they're on the previous Viper version, Viper 5.1, and they've been suffering for a while as well. We are continuing to work with engineering level technical support staff from the manufacturer. We've had to juggle numerous patches, fixes, what they call KBs and EIRs and other ABCs of the updates. The impact and the concerns for psap operations is definitely recognized. Liz mentioned earlier that we're working above the technical level up into management with the manufacturer to make sure they understand that the psaps have been doing their diligence, and we feel as a support group, we've been doing everything we can when they have to come out with software patches and fixes, and then almost immediately turn around and provide additional patches and fixes for what has broken during their last patch. It's destroying the confidence I think that psaps have in the product. So I'm just trying to send out props to all the folks that have been wrestling with Viper 7. We think that they've got it more stabilized. Again, we have not had a lot of over-the-top calls that came in saying that Viper 7 just is not performing, but there were enough nuances and enough items, troubles with various functions and features that your psap should not have to put up with, and it's causing issues, I'm sure, from training. It's causing issues on live calls, 911 and or admin. So we are continuing to wrestle with making sure that we get up to the level of patches and fixes that the manufacturers provided, and continue to try to work with the psaps. And so many of you, and we appreciate it. It's really needed. The diligence that you've shown to stick with us, to continue to give us the updates on what's working and when it's, the specific times and phone numbers or addresses or users that are associated with those times, so that we can go through those logs to get them the information they need to troubleshoot that. So I don't know if any psaps have any specific additional feedback here, but please know that we're very thankful here on our side from the technical group to have the psaps out there maintaining a level of patience with us and the manufacturer as we work with the manufacturer to get this squared away. Well, after that feel-good story, if there's no questions, I'll take questions on that. If none, I will turn it back to Mr. Folio.
All right. If no questions, thank you for the report, Mr. Benjamin. This item is on the agenda for information and discussion only. Moving on to the next topic is a request for future agenda items. Are there any requests by membership for an item on a future agenda? Okay. Go ahead, Liz.
Mike,
Yes,
just a heads up, I'm entering the fiscal year 2022, but it could be expecting a letter in April about fiscal year 2023. I mean, this is just an ongoing cycle, so that will happen before our next psap managers meeting. And Karen from Scottsdale, did you want to visit about call volume sharing?
Yeah, I was kind of waiting for him to go to the comments from the committee, but are you ready for me to address that, Mike?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So we've had some conversation recently. I had a question about what our options were regarding continuity of operations planning. Back when COVID started last March, there was a group of us that got together, and we started, and probably several groups that got together, talked about what they would do if COVID affected staffing to the level that we could no longer take our own calls. And at the time, we considered typical bailout situations where we would send our employees to another agency and they would be able to take calls then. Well, at this point in COVID and for several months now, it became painfully obvious that if your center is down with COVID to the point that you don't have very many employees, the last thing another center wants is those last men standing to invade their center. And neither center feels very safe with that. So we needed to come up with a different plan. So when I contacted Liz, she came back with some possibility for options that we need to talk about. And one of those is that at a certain level, say our staffing, we only have one call taker on duty because we're literally that short today. MR911 could watch that and not roll all the phone lines over or anything like that, but at a certain level, roll to an agency that we've chosen to take our rollover calls. And that would give us some possibility of having someone take calls. So maybe we only need it for 2 hours. Maybe we need it for 3 hours or 4. But anyway, something other than shutting down a center and running out. So that was kind of where we're at. Liz, can you help comment on anything that I might have missed there?
Covered it really well. I think this is Karen thinking really good, real outside the box and coming to me and saying, hey, MR911, this is the idea. And so there are options there. And I think that we would absolutely like to explore them. Anytime with anything that you're doing in a selective router, it can be complex. So we just want to make sure we're going into it smartly. It might be that we do a beta for a bit, but Karen, we believe that this is another thing we're going to make the emerging technology group and anyone else that wants to work with them. It's not just limited to them, but if you want to join in on it, to start looking at all the options that we have and what is it we're trying to do and how can we help. We've got all this technology. What's the best way to meet what Karen needs by what we have now and not mess it up for everybody else? So I think that we would love to explore this.
Okay, Jim Stillwell has a question.
Okay, there we go. I just wanted to ask the group how many of the agencies out there have begun allowing their dispatchers to get vaccinations, and of the agencies that have done that, what seems to be the percentage of the folks that are actually accepting it and getting it done?
We have allowed that here at Avondale. I would say it's a fairly low percentage of people that are actually going to get the shot in the PD, to be honest with you. So,
Jim, this is Brittany at Peoria. They started opening up vaccines the week of the 25th of January, and I would probably say, maybe 40% at the max opted to get the vaccine. So pretty low.
Glendale has allowed it, and we've got probably about 60 to 70% that have actually went and got the vaccine.
Scottsdale has allowed it too, and I'm going to guess we're at the 40 to 50% mark.
This is Patrick. Tempe allowed it as well, and we're probably about 60% is also. And just be advised, be prepared for the second dosage. We had about 4 people that received a reaction. Not overly adverse. It lasted about 24 hours. Myself included, ended up with a fever and had to go home. So that's something you need to prepare for. We actually added some overtime slots to cover that just in case.
We've been trying to schedule people on their last day of the week to avoid that. We as well have had a couple people that have gotten symptoms after getting the shots. Another thing that I've noticed, especially me personally, I had a lot of difficulty scheduling my second vaccination. I was finally able to get it this past week, and so we've seen that happening. But we are about the same. We're probably somewhere between the 50%, 60%, maybe on the high end of people who are accepting it.
This is Kim with Gilbert. We actually opened a closed pod at Gilbert PD for our employees. But as far as for COM employees, I think I'm at about 40-50% of those participating. And we are also allowing our employees to flex off the time if they go get vaccinated on our closed pod site, as well as giving them a day off if they have reactions.
Any other questions? Does that answer your question, Jim?
It does, and thank you everybody for your input.
All right. If no other questions, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Karen Sutherland, so moved.
Loretta, second.
Thank you, Karen and Loretta. This meeting is now adjourned. The next meeting will be on May 13th, 2021. Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.